All right, we are back with another Growth Lab training session, and today we are joined by the talented Rhian Beutler and Kelly Vaughn from Venntov and the Taproom. Welcome back to the Growth Lab. How you guys been?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing great.
I'm pretty psyched to have you guys back. So how to start mastering SEO like a pro? What can we expect to learn from you guys today?
Well, we're going to be talking about the beginner, like the beginning entry points to SEO and where to start and how to keep going.
We're going to make SEO be as little overwhelming as possible.
Yes, as least overwhelming.
As little.
So hopefully everyone today on this call will leave with a tangible thing that they can do today and then do tomorrow and do the next day, and to send you forth on this SEO journey that you're all embarking on with us.
Yeah.
Love the sound of that. To those of you who are wondering, we will be sharing a full replay of today's session along with all the pro tips and tools that Rhian and Kelly might be dropping in the chat. Also, let's give a shout out to Rob, who's in our control room, ready to answer any questions in the chat as well. Last thing, if you haven't already, check out our Growth Lab community on Facebook, where we shared pro tips and tools every week. I'll drop the link in the chat shortly. But without further ado, take it away. Ta-da! Bye.
Awesome. Rhian, do you want to introduce yourself first?
I do. My name is Rhian Beutler, and I am the COO and co-founder of Venntov. We have 3 Shopify apps in the app market: SEO Manager, hence why I know a lot about SEO, Order Lookup, and Clocked In. I'm also the co-host of Commerce Tea with the one and only Kelly Vaughn, who is over here. Kelly, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn. I'm the founder and CEO of the Taproom. We're a Shopify Plus agency specializing in custom development solutions based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Great.
East Coast.
Yeah, it's always, whenever Kelly and I do anything, it's always a comedy of errors in booking times, because she's like 3 p.m. I'm like, I don't know what time that is. So I'm just so excited to be here today with you all, and Kelly's going to help guide this discussion. And also, we're going to be taking questions straight from the chat. So if you have any questions that you want answered, we will do our best to get to them. There's quite a few of you here today, so it can be challenging in the chat. We've all seen it happen. It goes a little bit wild. So we're going to be trying to capture some of those questions. Today, we are going to be talking about beginner SEO. So we aren't going to dive too deep into some topics such as algorithmic challenges and things of that nature, because then we start getting really technical, and we're going to keep it to a point where everyone can take something away today.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and kick things off. What is SEO?
SEO is search engine optimization, and I like to think of it as a multidimensional Rubik's Cube. So you know those Rubik's Cubes that have a bunch of sides? And the reason why I think of it like that is because when you're doing SEO, it's not just one thing. And people tend to think it's just this one component. It's just organic marketing that you do on your page, but really it's something that you do with conversion rates and with any ad buys you do. And it's just a really holistic thing that eventually helps you get found on Google or SERPs. And SERP is a fancy word for search engine result page. And I will tell you, SEO folks love an acronym, tech folks in general. And you're like, what are you talking about? That's just a bunch of letters. And that is a very accurate description of much of what we say. So that's what SEO is. And the reason it's so important is because without getting found on Google, you put yourself in a position where you're not getting found, and therefore you're not making sales.
For sure. And I think it's also important to note that we always default to Google. But
Yes.
SEO applies to all search engines.
It does.
Bing and DuckDuckGo and
like you have to think
around.
I think Yahoo is still around.
Last
time I looked at it. Yes, we tend to just talk about Google because Google dominates the market, but that doesn't mean that some of these techniques do not apply cross-platform. To Bing especially is the one that things apply cross-platform mostly.
For sure. So why does SEO matter?
So like I said, SEO matters because Google receives over 63,000 searches per second. People are searching and they're searching constantly. And that data is a little bit old. I would argue that since we've all been in a form of quarantine, that number has skyrocketed as our screen time has skyrocketed as well. Search and direct traffic account for over 74% of all traffic on your website. And the average user, and I always question this data point, by the way, the average user makes a search query 3 times a day on their desktop. And I hear that and I'm like, really? Because I Google stuff all day long. So I don't know if either I'm skewing the data or if that data is incorrect. And another important thing about SEO is that over 90% of all traffic happens on the first page of Google. So that is the place that you are shooting for in your search tactics. Now, that's not to say that being on the second, third, fourth, fifth page is bad, but being on the first page is by far the best. Most people do not go past that. Another thing that's really important about SEO is that by the end of 2020, it is anticipated that over 50% of searches are going to be done by voice.
It's a crazy statistic, but it's so true. I mean, You're thinking Google Homes and Alexas and just, hey Siri, please don't turn on. Oh,
yeah, I know.
I'm sorry if I alerted Siri on any.
This is a delicate ecosystem where we do not say Lexa's name because things will just happen. Lights will start going off.
But it's true. I mean, as we are shifting towards a different type of search, it also changes the way that we have to implement these best practices. But getting a little ahead of myself, how does SEO work?
Well, SEO works in a variety of ways. So there have been 3,200 changes to Google in the past 12 months. So people like me, my job is to try to unravel that and to make it digestible for everybody else, because no one has time to figure out the 3,200 changes Google has just been pushing into the wild. The last major update was made in May. And so Google every few months is like, we're having a core update. And then they just do a core update. And the most recent one really talked about speed and performance, which is actually really in alignment with Shopify's soon to be released performance dashboard for stores. So it's kind of cool that that's it coming out at about the same time. I'm not going to get too deep into algorithms, but I will say this about algorithms. So there's a lot of animal algorithms: panda, possum, pigeon, penguin, lots of P's. Okay. Now, and I'm just going to make sure that I state this correctly. So there's 2 other main components. So one is RankBrain. That's been since 2016. That helps Google better relate pages to concepts. So when you ask Google a question, it helps them understand what that question is. So they're trying to understand the gist of your question. So if you're like, who is the person on Nailed It? They're like, oh, you probably mean the host. So that's the type of thing that RankBrain does. Now, in 2018, something called neural matching was rolled out, and that relates words to searches. So, for instance, how do I change my live image to a GIF also means how do I convert, modify, exchange my live image to a GIF. So it's doing a one synonyms, if you will. So neural matching is a fancy word for synonyms. And then, of course, there is BERT. And BERT means, and I'm sure y'all are going to remember this at the end, because Lord knows I can't. And BERT means bidirectional encoder representations from transformers.
Who comes up with these things?
Engineers. And
as an engineer, true.
And so that's a form of neural matching, but again, it relates words to concepts, and that's really important when it comes to when we speak about content writing and the way we develop content strategy for our page and SEO strategy on page. So RankBrain and BERT have changed the game forever, and I'm really glad that they're here because it's much more difficult to gamify SEO with both of those 2 things running in the background. In fact, RankBrain gives a correct answer to a search query 80% of the time. It beats humans.
I love testing it. Like, I love doing that. What was that guy in the movie where something exploded and just like some really bizarre, like super vague query, and somehow it figures it out?
Yes. But what's great about this too is it really levels the playing field for those of y'all who are starting up and who are new to SEO. Because, and I don't remember who I was having this conversation with, and it very well could have been Kelly. All of a sudden, we're seeing companies coming up against enterprise and legacy brands. So you're having fine jewelry companies like Frey and Oro disrupting a market that was dominated by Cartier and Tiffany's. And because of these type of queries in this algorithm, you can actually go up and fight, so to speak, against these major players that at one point you would have said, you know what, second page looks good to me. Now I would say first page can look good for basically any industry. It's just about strategy and implementation and consistency of action.
So that leads us into a really good topic.
Okay.
What are the best practices surrounding getting found on Google?
Okay, so there's a lot of best practices, and I'm going to try to give them to you in a way that is not super overwhelming. So first of all, even though there's these AI-driven algorithms, it doesn't mean we're not using keywords anymore. They still have to latch on to something, right? So you have to do keyword research. My favorite way of doing keyword research is by simply researching my competitors. Now, there's two types of competitors. And for those of you who have heard me speak before, forgive me. I used to consult with a streetwear brand and I asked them, who is your competitor? And they said, Nike. And I said, that's not your competitor. And that's not meant to be derogatory, right? It's like, if I'm a brand new t-shirt company, I'm not competing with Nordstrom. I'm just not yet. So you have your one-to-one competitors, and then I like to call them aspirational competitors. And as the aspirational competitors have upped their SEO strategy, which they have had to do to compete with so many direct-to-consumer folks, it's good to check all of them. And so what I do is I literally create a spreadsheet, or to be totally honest, I use a whiteboard, which is not the most efficient way of doing things. And I write the words I'm seeing on a whiteboard, the keywords over and over, and I'm noticing the patterns that I'm seeing. And I'm seeing, oh, look, they're really saying this word. Maybe I should try to rank for this word, or they're using this pattern or this long tail keyword, which means 2 or 3 word keyword. So that's really important.
Okay, so before we
yes.
move on, Seth Thomas has a question.
Of course.
What are keywords?
So keywords are a word that Google anchors their search around. So for instance, if you are trying to get found for denim jumpsuits, because that's what I'm wearing, sustainable denim jumpsuits, that is what I'm searching. I'm searching, probably knowing me, comfortable, sustainable denim jumpsuits. So it's a word. Back in the day, like 3 years ago, I always joke about that because everything moves so quickly. So a few years ago, that's all you would just say, denim jumpsuit. But that's not what people are searching for now. They're searching for those longer tail queries, which make up keywords. Those keywords then are used in your content, your title, your meta description, and your alt text, which is where we're going to get into next. For tools related to keyword research, I recommend a few. One is just using AdWords in the advanced mode, and you pretend like you're going to buy an ad and use Keyword Planner. I think Google has the best information because they're the one who hold the keys to the kingdom. So in my opinion, they are the people to use. And it does take some finagling to get that right, but you just go in, you put in, you do have to go in like you're setting up an ad. So full disclosure, you have to put your credit card in, but you never have to run an ad. They just don't tell you that part. Now, when you make your AdWords account, they put you in the basic account. You don't want to be there. You want to be in the advanced account. Otherwise, you can't use Keyword Planner. So once you're in the advanced area, you're going to just add your URL, and then you're going to put search in, and you're going to see search volume. You're going to see keywords they recommend and search volume. And also if it's a low, medium, or high bid, or low, medium, high traffic, and then bidding prices. I like to look at that and say, ooh, what has high traffic but doesn't cost a lot of money? That's a pretty good indicator as to what you can get found in relatively quickly. So keywords, super important. Spend the time. Now for paid tools, Moz has a great paid tool. I'm a big fan of their product. I think they're actually having their conference today and yesterday, or it could have been yesterday and the day before. Moz is a really great. Yeah, it was yesterday and the day before, right?
Yeah.
They have a really phenomenal tool. They, I believe, acquired SEMrush, which was one of the big tools. So they joined forces. Moz is really powerful. It is pricey. It starts at about $100 a month. Is it worth it? It depends where you're at in your field. I sort of like Ubersuggest. It's not perfect, but it is a more approachable tool in terms of price. So 1, keyword research. I'm making sure I stay on track. 2, make sure that you are writing compelling page titles, meta descriptions, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So hold on 1 second.
And while she's pulling that up, you can write your page titles and meta descriptions directly in Shopify. You can do it for your homepage. You can do it for your product pages, collections, blog posts, regular informational pages. Did I cover everything?
I think so.
I think so. Maybe, I don't know if I said products, but I assume I did. If you scroll to the bottom of the page on any of those pages, like you're editing a product, you'll see a section at the bottom for editing the SEO. And that's where you put in the title and the meta description.
Perfect. So I'm going to look up Vray and Oro. So here we are, and this is your page title. Oopsie, I didn't mean to highlight everything. The ad, for the record, is not what I meant. Okay, so here we are. We can all see this, right? So this blue link right here, that's the page title. So they've chosen engagement rings and modern diamond jewelry. They also have included the name of their brand, which I forgot was rebranded to just Vray. So Vray, that is the title. Now look here, modern engagement rings, everyday fine jewelry, sustainably grown, lab-created diamonds, solid gold. So that just succinctly says what exactly it is that you're about to click on if you click this link. I like to think of page titles like a headline of a newspaper and meta descriptions like a byline of a newspaper. So tell me right here why I'm going to be clicking on this title. Now, as an aside, I do want to point these things out. So some of you might be like, how do I get those? They're actually kind of hard to get. They're called site links, and they just come from traffic. Google, frankly, arbitrarily hands them out. And so it's hard to get, but once you get enough traffic, you'll be able to. For titles, it's important to make a title around 80 characters. Now, the meta descriptions, what's publicized is 160 characters, but what I have been noticing is truncation at 130 characters. So what I mean by truncation is Google is starting to cut people off at 130 characters. They haven't come out and said anything, but I've been seeing this across every single, I've been doing a lot of research around this, and it seems like that's going to be where we're headed. So I would say 130 characters. Also, we're pushing right here. I will say this is on the long side. Here's why. This on mobile is very big. So I would just consider, if I was Vray, just trying to shorten this down a little, even if it's removing and using an ampersand or the plus sign, just to get it to be more easy to look at without it stacking. Yeah. And so that's important to note. Now,
I have 2 additional comments to make.
Yes.
On Shopify. So briefly, some time ago, Google increased the length of the meta descriptions to 320 characters. And then they changed their minds and they went back to 160.
Really quickly, too.
Really quickly. Shopify updated to reflect the change to 320 for your meta descriptions, but they never changed it back. So be careful when you're writing out your meta descriptions. You have more space in there than you actually need to use.
Yes, you do. And it gives you this like false confidence that you can just keep writing. And sometimes, and this is the thing about meta descriptions, it's all about selling, right? You're just selling the click. So you don't need to get super wordy in it. There's a misunderstanding or misrepresentation misunderstanding about keywords inside of meta descriptions and titles. Google doesn't actually look at that keyword. So
Right.
while it matters that the keyword is in there from a consumer's point of view, if it does a clue to the consumer, Google does not read it. All they care about is, are people clicking on the title?
For sure.
Kelly, do you mind pulling up where it is in the back end while I talk a little bit about alternative text?
Yes. Before I do that, I do want to note, Julia Bennett, you asked, I have a question. If the tags feature on Shopify, does this improve SEO? It does not.
Nope.
They
Yeah.
do not help with SEO whatsoever. However, they're very, very, very useful from a user experience standpoint. What I recommend using for tags is, one, for collection sorting is really handy. Anything that your customers are searching for on your website, those tags are very relevant. So if you're not using an app on your site for suggesting searches, you'll notice in one of the reports that Shopify gives you is that you can see the search terms that people are using that's not coming up with any results. And quite often you'll see misspellings of words.
Mm-hmm.
Really great opportunity to use tags there by just popping in the misspelling of that word as one of the product tags. And you'll notice it'll actually come up on search when you search for that misspelled word.
The irony of on-site search for Shopify is it does impact SEO because you want people to be able to find everything they are there to find, because Google tracks how long have people been on your store. Are they able to search around? Are they able to click around? Have they found a broken page? Do you have a broken page? Things like that. Google looks at all of it. So next, a thing that is critical to performance or to SEO and getting found is alt text. And alt text is alternative text. So without alternative text, what Google sees is picture. They know that there's an image. They don't know what the image is of. And it is important for two reasons. One, for accessibility purposes, for text to voice technology. So folks who are unsighted can see or hear what that picture is. Second, it makes sure that your image shows up in Google image search, which is an increasing search behavior where people go in, they do a Google search query, and then they go straight to Google Images and they search through Google Images. They're not searching through Google Prime, they're searching on Google Images. If you do not have alt text, you will not show up there. Point blank, period. So it's super important. And Kelly, if you could pull up
Yes,
where it is.
show
Perfect.
2 examples.
Thank you
here.
so much.
Screen sharing on, let's see, share this Chrome tab first. So, okay, this is a product editing page that you're likely familiar with. Every time you upload an image into this media section, if you click on the image, by the way, I cleared out the alt text so you can see it. You'll see this text that says add alt text. Click this box, and this is where you're going to type everything in. This is not good alt text. Please type real words.
Yes. And there's a key, there's an awesome key to unlock or lock to unlock here. And our friend Kurt had a guest on recently who really elucidated it in the best way I've ever heard of it.
Name is Ilana Davis, by the way. She's the one who came with it.
Ilana Davis is the one who said this. And she said, explain the picture as if it was over the phone. And that's what you put in the alt text. And I think that just is a big mindset shift for folks, because you're like, oh, I totally get it now. It's not just book, start freelancing today, book. It's like, well, that doesn't actually describe it. It's just telling you what the thing is. It should say what colors are present, those are the type of things that you're going to want to include there.
I mean, think about selling a black handbag. If you're trying to tell somebody about this bag that you bought to a friend, and they're like, whoa, what's the bag like? Black handbag.
Yeah, it's a black handbag. It doesn't compute to us, to Google, and it certainly doesn't help unsighted folks understand what you're selling there.
Exactly.
So this is a must. And the thing is most people don't do this. This is very overlooked. I would also highly suggest not using templating software for this. And that's no slight on developers who have made templating software. It's the fact of the matter is when you're templating this, you're doing whatever your product name is and then your brand name. And that's normally it. That doesn't hit the mark when it comes to alt text. This is where you can really stand apart from your competitors. So use this as an opportunity to stand apart from your competitors.
Getting a lot of questions
Okay.
about how long should the alt text be, and should we be using like keywords or like sentence case essentially?
So you should be using sentence case, but you can put keywords in there if they make sense. So there's a fine line with keywords between making it into a sentence and stuffing it into a sentence. I think we all know what I'm talking about. eBay is a really great example of keyword stuffing and just listing keywords. Don't be like eBay in this. Write a sentence. If you can integrate a keyword, perfect. Honestly, if you're writing about your product, I always find that it's not that hard to integrate a keyword into writing about your product because you're writing about your product. Also, 180 characters is what's recommended. There is no formal guidance from Google.
So describe to your heart's content.
Yes.
I'm going to show one more tab of another place to be mindful of where you do have additional alt text you need to add. So if you are in your theme customizer and you have a section that contains an image, these images also need alt text. If you click the edit button, it is right there.
Yes. Can you share? Did you share that?
Yep.
Okay,
Should be
perfect.
sharing my tab. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what's next? Okay, we've talked about page titles. We've talked about meta descriptions. We've talked about alt text. Now let's talk about product descriptions.
Before we move on to that,
yes,
you get penalized if your alt text over 180 characters.
Can we say it one more time?
You get penalized if your alt text. See, I'm all for being as detailed as you can be. I would say 180 characters is a good guideline if you're struggling to figure out what to write.
Yes.
Get around that 180 character mark. You can have more sentences. You can do whatever you need to explain the image that people should be looking at.
Yeah, the most important thing is explaining the image. If that takes 300, 400 characters, then keep typing.
Yeah.
Keep typing. I think on Twitter, they have capped it at 1,000 characters. So to give you an example of, and just so you all know, Google actually pulls from Twitter in searches. So if you don't have a Twitter for your brand, it's actually really important because even if you don't like Twitter yourself, Google likes Twitter and Google will feature Twitter in knowledge graphs.
Yeah.
So just as a point. Okay, so product descriptions. They can be very overwhelming. I'm going to tell you what not to do before I'm going to tell you what to do. If you are a drop shipper, that's totally fine, but do not use the product description that came with your product. We all know what I'm talking about. Don't use the description and do not use the picture. But we're just going to talk about description. Let me pull up some really witty descriptions or some good writing.
You know what my favorite's going to be?
Is it Pit Viper?
It's Jenny's Ice Creams.
Oh my gosh, it's always Jenny's Ice Cream. We'll pull Jenny's Ice Cream up next. Okay, can you see my screen?
I cannot.
Okay. Okay. If everyone in chat can see my screen, we're good to go.
It's possible maybe I just can't.
Yeah, I think so because I couldn't see when you shared last time either. So
okay, yes. Please confirm in chat if you can see Rhian's
yes.
screen.
I don't want to just talk into it. No. Okay.
Were you able to see my screen when I was demoing where you put in alt text? It's a lot of no's.
Oh man. Okay.
I don't know if these are still in relation to yours or okay. Yes. So it was just you.
Okay.
That's good. While you're figuring that out, I can share my Jenny's Ice Cream example.
Perfect. I actually am going to need to rejoin because I'm having a hiccup over here. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay.
So here is Jenny's Ice Creams. Really delicious ice cream out of Columbus, Ohio. If you've never had it, I highly recommend trying some. They're now shipping, which is awesome. So you can see this is their product description. It's creative. It's describing each of what's included. So these are not variants. This is just a collection that you can purchase, like a bundle, basically. And you know exactly what you're going to be getting out of this. But this is my favorite part of it because there's definitely some more creativity to it. It's not just another run-of-the-mill product description. I would recommend steering clear of writing just a bunch of bullet points for your description.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm back. For those of you who don't know me well, I am notorious for being riddled with technological challenges when it comes to hardware. So sorry about that, y'all. So glad you were able to share Jenny's.
And also, I just put a link in the chat for the for the page I was just viewing, since apparently it was too small to view.
Okay. So I'm going to share with you ugly drinks, and we're going to see how that goes. And if the screen share doesn't work, we're just going to talk for the rest of this.
Or
how does that sound? Okay, Kelly, why don't you share this?
All right. Am I sharing a homepage, product page?
Why don't we share the homepage first, and then we'll nav to a product page.
Perfect. Okay. So we have ugly drinks, delicious canned water.
Very delicious. I have a passion for ugly drinks. So if you'll notice, there's some snappy copy on the front page. Let's go into Shop All.
Where is Shop All? Oh, there's
top left. And let's click in. I like this quick shop feature, by the way.
Yes. Have used it several times.
Okay, so if you'll scroll down some more. In my brain, there was really great product copy here, but you know what? I might be totally wrong. In which case,
very short.
This is very short. This is actually not good. This is a great example of what not to do. So Kelly just showed you a great example of what to do, but this is what not to do. So even though they have this is a ton of assets, which is phenomenal.
By the way.
Okay.
So you should be able to read that.
See, that description doesn't sell anything to me. That just tells me that I might not get my product in time. So don't do that. And here's the thing. If right now you are having increased demand, you are having increased ship time, there's a way to display that. I would be displaying that in a top banner, not right there.
Right.
So back to Jenny's ice cream. In which case, what I'll say is, the more narrative driven you can write your copy, the better. If that feels really overwhelming to you, I get it. Writing is hard, and it's hard for a lot of folks.
I just shared and zoomed in, so you should.
I love that so much. This makes me just want to eat so much ice cream immediately. But this is fun. This is whimsical. This sells the brand. It has the brand voice. Figure out what your brand voice is. And the reason this matters for SEO is because people decide right here if they're buying your product or not. Google cares if people buy your product. It's one thing to drive traffic to your site through paid ads or whatever, but it's another to get people to check out. Google looks at all of those behaviors and determines, is this a page that I really want to be on? And is this a page I should be serving when people make search queries?
Should I pull up the Pit Viper website?
I think so. Pit Viper is really funny. I do not endorse or condone everything on Pit Viper's website, but I will say that their copy is snappy and funny. Chubby's also used to be really great at writing phenomenal copy, and their email marketing is really great if you want to look at some good copywriting. But again, product descriptions are key. Another best practice that I want to talk about, so I do not forget, is a blog. And there's going to be a lot of people right now in chat being like, no one reads my blog. I don't care. Here's why. Google reads your blog, and Google decides, is this a important site? Because Google looks at three main indicators, and they have again said that this matters. And it's expertise, it's EAT. I told you, acronyms, EAT. Expertise, authoritativeness, I can never say that word, and trustworthiness. So are you an expertise? Are you an expertise? Do you have expertise in your field? Is there authority? Are you showing authority? And are you trustworthy? Which is why reviews matter so much. Caveat, which we can get to in a little bit, you need to make sure you have Json Ld on your site. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I can show you what Json Ld is. I will try sharing my screen again. And let's see if I can do this in a way that works. Okay. I promise that we tested this ahead of time. By the way,
works fine for me. I mean, the classic developer reply. It works on my machine.
It works on my machine. Well, Kelly, would you do us a favor and pull up Google?
Okay. Just Google.
Yeah, just Google.
Okay.
And if you could share that.
Google.
And search movement watches, MVMT.
Okay, the proper spelling for it.
The proper spelling for it. Okay, so if you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's this box. That is called a knowledge graph. You need to have Json Ld in your store's code. If you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what you're talking about, there are apps for it. SEO Manager is one app that does it. There's other apps that do it as well. Json Ld for SEO, I believe, is the name of another app that does it. You can also have a developer manually put it in. I'd recommend like a store task or Hey Carson type moment for just doing something really small like this, because it's a one and done situation.
For sure.
So that is what a knowledge graph is. A knowledge graph is also, if you look midway through the screen, it says people also ask. That's part of a knowledge graph. That's Google saying, are you sure you don't mean these questions? Some of them aren't positive.
I've fallen down like a trap of those questions just to see what.
Just a spiral. I love that. And then also included is YouTube videos, if you'll notice, in a knowledge graph. But that gets pulled in organically, just like Twitter does. So overall, if you're taking anything out of what I just said about Json Ld, which is JSON-LD, make sure you have it on your site. While we're talking best practices, something else that is super important, make sure to submit your sitemap. Please.
Okay, let's talk about sitemaps for a second.
Yes.
There was a previous question. Why can't you edit the sitemap? If you're coming from, let's say, like WordPress or something, you're used to having access to your sitemap to make whatever changes you want to do. Shopify locks that down for you, but they also include everything you need on there, all your products, all your pages, all your blog posts, all your collections. So you don't need to generate that yourself. P.S. A sitemap is basically literally a map of your website. What are all the links that are on your website? So there's one small caveat to that. You can't add anything to your sitemap, but you can remove links from your sitemap.
Yes, you can. So a sitemap, I see a lot of questions in chat about what a sitemap is. So I'm going to give you an analogy because I like to learn through analogies. So a sitemap functions sort of like this. Okay, if you were to drop me off in the middle of LA and I have no idea what's in LA, and you're like, Rhian, walk to the Hollywood sign. And I don't have a phone, I don't have anything. That is what you do to Google when you do not give them a sitemap. You're just like, I am on the internet, figure it out. A sitemap is like Google Maps for Google, okay? So it's super easy to implement. And if either Rob or Hans could drop in the chat a link to how to submit your sitemap for Shopify, that would be very much appreciated. Okay, it's already in there. Phenomenal. So it is relatively easy to submit, and do it. If you don't have this right now, this is your one thing you're going to do today, okay? You can do it, and it's going to be a lower entry point for y'all to feel. I think it's good to have that one thing that you walk away and you're like, I got this right now. Like I'm going to nail this one thing. Now for Json Ld, I saw some questions regarding it. I don't ever speak poorly of other apps, but I would say there are apps in the marketplace that are more affordable than $300 to implement Json Ld. Like I said, you could also use something like Store Tasker or a Shopify expert who can manually hard code it in. There's other apps like ours, which are less expensive, but ultimately just make sure you have it. And if you need it to be, you can also, there is a help document, I believe, floating around on the internet about how you can code it in if you feel comfortable writing code. So there's 3 different options when it comes to that. And for those of you who are wondering where there are links, I do know that there's going to be a roundup of all the links later emailed out to you. Yeah. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling super overwhelmed because chat is going wild, you will be able to look.
And if you want to know where your sitemap exists on your website, it's yourwebsite.com/sitemap.xml.
And one thing that's important, and I just saw a question come up, is regarding, and I can't see it anymore, but do you need to update your sitemap on Google? The best part about Shopify sitemaps is that they are dynamic. They do all that hard work for you. So you don't need to go back in and update. You do have to do that on other platforms, but you do not need to do that with Shopify.
So let's move on.
Yes.
We do have some other things we need to talk about. So
yes.
If I'm not doing anything right now, where do I start? We talked about the sitemap.
Yes.
Where else? What would be next?
I would use Sitemaps, JSON first. Next, I would be going through your titles, meta descriptions, alt text, and product descriptions. Next. After that, you're going to want to, and maybe even, I would argue possibly before that, because you're going to have Google Search Console set up, because you have to have Google Search Console set up for sitemaps. Make sure you don't have any 404 errors, because a 404 error is a broken page. We've all landed on them where they're like, site does not exist, 404 error, and sometimes there's like a cute little thing right there. If you have a 404 error, Google thinks that your site is broken and will stop directing traffic there. So making sure you have no 404 errors is a relatively easy thing to do, that you can start today once you activate Google Search Console.
I have another question that came
Yes.
in, which I think is going to be a fun one to talk about. Let's say my website, my store is on Shopify, but I have a blog on WordPress.
Yes.
Is that still helping my SEO?
No. It depends. It depends is the answer. It gets really complicated really fast when you start mixing where things are. It depends if that blog links back to Shopify. It depends if you have follow or no follow links on there. It depends is the answer. In a perfect world, you would have everything on Shopify. We don't live in a perfect world. So Kelly, I'm going to ping that question over to you, because you as a developer, I think, have a little bit more insight as to how you can make that work in a more fluid manner.
Yeah. So first off, I was hoping you would touch on subdomains.
Oh, yes. I haven't talked about subdomains because the rules have changed.
Yes. And this is where it actually does become relevant if you have a blog on a different website.
Absolutely. So subdomains, the way it used to work is a subdomain. So here's your primary domain. And a subdomain, Google would look at kind of over here. It was like, that's cute. Okay. Now Google's like, because of Bert, see, good old Bert, Google recognizes that they are the same, that they are related.
Yes.
So now it has changed the way that Google interacts and understands the hierarchy of your site. And hierarchy of your site is a fancy word for how your site is structured.
Yes. So I know that the Shopify blog is a bit limiting. Shopify is a really great e-commerce platform. There haven't been really any features that have been added to the blog, at least in like the past 5 years. They did change the structure of the URLs for the blogs, though. I do appreciate that. If you can blog directly on Shopify, I recommend doing that. If you can't, I see a lot of people, it really depends whether your site is more content heavy or shop heavy. So for example, for stores that are for websites that are more content heavy, their main website will be like www.mywebsite.com. Their store will be shop.mywebsite.com. The alternate would be my store is mywebsite.com, but my blog lives at blog.mywebsite.com. So you can kind of connect the two of them there. If you are going to have a blog on a separate website, install the sales channel for creating buy buttons, which is completely free. It's built by Shopify.
Yes.
You can generate links to let people purchase your products directly on your other site. It just takes them right back to Shopify's checkout, and you can continue to connect that content there. I do have a question for you, Rhian.
Yes.
So let's say I'm on a different web. I'm on my blog. It's blog.kellyscoolsocks.com.
Yes, I love Kelly's Cool Socks, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to showcase a new pair of socks that I'm selling.
Okay.
I am now I'm clicking on the picture, and it's taking me to kellyscoolsocks.com/product/new socks.
Okay.
Does that help me with time spent on the website, even though I went from a subdomain to a top level? Am I getting too technical?
I think so. I think so. I mean, yes, but no. Yeah, the thing is you want people to spend time on your site, but you also don't want to preclude them from checking out. So I think that's an issue, right? You want people to convert at the end of the day. Like you don't want it to start like a circle of like clicking on things and then them bouncing right before they check out.
Yeah. And there's a link now to learn more about the Shopify buy button. Fun fact, if you have a website that's purely content, but you want to sell some products, Shopify has a $9 a month plan called their Lite Shopify plan that gives you access to do specifically this.
It's
Fun
wonderful.
fact. But if you're here and you're learning more about SEO and growing your Shopify store, you're probably going to be on maybe the $29 a month plan all the way up to Shopify Plus.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some additional absolute no-nos, starting with buying backlinks.
That's my least favorite thing. Everybody listen to me, please. Okay. This is my serious face, everyone. Do not buy backlinks. It is so tempting. We have all gotten those emails. And for those of you who are like, what is a backlink? That is when a person on another website links to your page. You've probably seen it, in fact, on Facebook and on Reddit and anywhere where there's a potential for a comment. You'll always see like one spammy or 3 spammy comments being like, go to this website. It's awesome. That's it. When you buy backlinks from a backlink building company, that is what they do. Google cracks down on that really, really hard. Every year they do like a spam State of the Union about what they're seeing and tracking. And they do not like spammy backlinks to a point where they will literally pull you out of search results for using bad backlinks. The other problem with buying them, so if some of you are sitting here being like, oh my gosh, I did that, now what? There's a tool called Disavow that you can use. And through Google Search Console, you can find out what backlinks there are that are bad, and then you can submit them through Disavow. I know in chat there's been some questions where we can kind of round up maybe some of these things that we're talking about, and I'd be happy to put a document together for you all, by the way. So
I think it's important to note, though, backlinks are not inherently bad.
No, backlinks are actually really good. Yeah, backlinks are phenomenal. So Kelly and I have a podcast, right? And every week I look and I see who's linking to us. And that's what a backlink is. So people linking to us, that's great. What we don't want is random website that we've never heard of linking to us, because all of a sudden you think, uh-oh, what has just happened? So a great way to build positive backlinks is through co-marketing opportunities. For instance, if I'm selling denim jumpsuits and Kelly's selling sneakers or heels or whatever, or enamel pins, yes, because I'm wearing both. Hey, look, she's on Shopify, goodpins.com. Enamel pins, look, we can now market together. This is a co-marketing opportunity right here. And I think sometimes when we're in accessory or apparel, we start thinking of everybody as competitors, but instead of thinking, what ways can we work together and co-market? And now I'm writing a blog about you and you're writing a blog about me. Backlink.
Yep. And you're helping each other generate sales.
And you're helping each other. Yeah. Same for Instagram. Same for Twitter. That is a really great, easy, low barrier way to create backlinks. The more complicated ways are using a PR agency, working with big influencers and the like. But so backlinks are good, but only if you don't buy them through a backlink building agency. Especially there are backlink building agencies who they're really PR agencies. Those type of packages cost like $5,000 a month. Okay. If the cost in total is like $300 to $500, it's a scam. Don't do it. One thing about SEO, which is really important to know, and I guess if there's one thing I want you to walk away from here today is, if it seems too good to be true, it is. SEO is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It will feel like a marathon because you won't get the results you want right away. But again, if it seems too good to be true, it is.
For sure.
Not to be negative. I'm really passionate about
down this negative train. Because
phenomenal.
What are some other absolute no-nos?
Okay, you need to make sure that you have your SSL certificate on your site. That Shopify makes this super, super easy. So that means you're an HTTPS, not a HTTP. That's one thing that's really easy. Also, make sure that your site is fast. If your site is not fast, you will get downranked. Google has publicly announced it more than one time. So things that can ruin your site performance are apps with left behind code, poor development work, really big images that you haven't compressed that you've shoved directly into your theme section or the theme file. That's a big place that we see. Another thing you shouldn't do, controversial topic, is have a pop-up within the first 10 to 15 seconds on your website. The reason it's controversial is because there's email marketing folks who are like, this is how we capture emails. And from a SEO perspective, I'm here to tell you it cannot be crawled through. We call them interstitials, which is a fancy word for pop-up. And basically it blocks Google from crawling any farther. So you don't want to do it. You can have them. I really like exit pop-ups. Personally, yeah. I also, and Kelly and I joke about this often, think of a pop-up like this. Like if I was to walk into Nordstrom and you were to block me from going any farther and you're like, give me your email right now. I'd be like, whoa, who are you? And no, I think I'm going to leave now. That is a similar experience. The more we think about shopping online to mirror how we shop in person, the better user experience is going to be. And the better your user experience is, the better your SEO is going to be. The more findable you are.
Talk a little bit more about site speed before we move on.
Yes.
I do have some good news to everybody listening. In the next few weeks, potentially towards the end of the summer, you're going to see a new feature that's added into your Shopify admin, which is going to give you a report of how fast your site is, how long it's taking, and also what is causing your site to take more time to load. You're going to be able to answer the following questions. How fast is my site? How fast was it compared to last week? And what is slowing down my site? So this is something that Shopify has been building for a while. It's something that they announced at Shopify Reunite, which is the big product announcement, basically. That was a couple months ago.
Yes.
If you did not tune in on our podcast, our very first episode actually was a recap of Shopify Reunite. So you can hear all the product announcements there. I'm really, really excited for this as a developer because
it's exciting news. As an app developer too, we're really excited about it because its performance really matters. And I will say I'm seeing a lot of questions of how fast is good. Okay.
Yeah.
You're never going to be at 100%.
Okay, please.
Yeah.
A Google page speed is great if you're not running a Shopify store. It was not built to test Shopify stores. So please do not put a lot of weight into Google page speed in sites. I use tools like, I'm blanking on all the names. I will figure them out as you continue to talk.
Yeah, it's just important. I would say if you're using Google page speed, if you can stay in the yellow, you're in a good spot. Being in the green is for a site that basically has no images and is just text only and is coded in a different language. So just so you all know, if you're looking and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm yellow. This is like the time in life when 60% is totally fine.
Yep.
So I think it's a funny number because we're conditioned to be like 60%, that's a D, that's bad. In this 60%, we're golden. Like you're rolling good. When you start getting 30, 20, 10, I've seen sites perform at like 3. And you can even feel it. It hauls and you're feeling it. And the reality is if your page takes longer than 2.3 seconds to load, people just bounce.
Yeah.
They just leave. They're like, well, this must be broken. And think about the way you interact. And this is especially true on mobile, but matters just as much on desktop.
And the sites I was trying to think of before were GT Metrics is one, and I'll put the link in there in a moment. And Pingdom is the other one.
Again, Pingdom's great.
They're great to get an idea of how fast or how slow your website is. I would recommend looking maybe at the tips that are shown there, but just don't put a lot of weight onto that. I think Shopify's tool is really going to help us here. I think theme developers and app developers love pointing fingers at each other.
Yes. And now they're not going to be able to anymore. And that's great because it's going to be really clear what is causing what. I'm really excited about this for all y'all merchants and also for us as partners in the ecosystem.
Okay.
So I know that I'm just making sure that we've covered everything. Oh, one other thing, definite no-go is duplicate content and using, like I said, using stock images and stock descriptions. Because then you're creating, let's say you're drop shipping denim jumpsuits. We're using, I love this. It's so comfortable. So let's say you're using denim jumpsuit. You're selling denim jumpsuit, but this denim jumpsuit is sold on 1,000 other sites. And 1,000 other sites have used this exact description to sell this denim jumpsuit. You're never getting found. You're also never getting found for images if you're selling the same image as everybody else. So if you can, when you're drop shipping, make sure that you can buy as much as you, okay, I know some drop shippers, y'all have thousands of products, but let's say you're drop shipping 10 products. Buy them all. Shoot them in-house. Make them different. Make them special. That matters. And also, of course, having alt text.
And I know it is a lot of work to try to explain the same thing 8 different times.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's well worth it though, or you can hire a copywriter to do that work for you. I saw a question early on saying, how do I get better at writing? You're not going to like me for saying this, but the only way to get better at writing is to write.
Oh, and I'm going to add to this with another fun task. Read a lot. And yes. I would say to get better at writing, read fiction. Another potentially controversial thing, but reading fiction is different than writing, and reading fiction is different than writing and reading nonfiction. And I feel like copywriting for a brand is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So read some books. You could read some trash book. It doesn't have to be great fiction. It can be like a nice beach read. Kelly and I both read nonfiction, but we love a trashy like beach read as well. And I think that's okay. I would like to say that. For books that I recommend, I mean, I'm recommending anything from, oh my word. You know what book is really written well? It's About Damn Time by Arlen Hamilton. It's great book. It's nonfiction, but it's written like a creative nonfiction. So that kind of marries the two. And her story is really phenomenal. And I would really recommend it to everybody.
Another book I recommend, also nonfiction, is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, you always talk about Atomic Habits.
It's one of those books that I can reread every single year to start off the year, just to just center myself and figure out what my goals are for the year. Highly, highly recommend it.
I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so I know we're approaching the top of the hour, and we promised you all some teardowns. So we're gonna do some teardowns, but here's a caveat. We know, and for those who love Arlen, same. I'm like a huge fangirl of her work. For those of you who do not have, who we're not going to get to today because there are many of you, Kelly and I are going to be opening up for Commerce Tea, which is our podcast. We're going to be doing some YouTube teardowns. We're going to drop right now our teardown link. So if we do not get to you, please fill out this page, and we will do our best to get to you.
And Rob, please put the link in there.
Yeah, Rob, please
remember what it is.
Yeah, please put the link in there, Rob. So with that caveat, people start dropping your links. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to try to open this.
Were you able to share your screen?
I'm gonna try, girl. I'm gonna try.
I was just sharing a Chrome tab, by the way.
Okay. Let me share my Chrome tab and hope for the best. This is the part where the chat goes crazy. Okay.
And this here, what you're seeing in the chat, is exactly why we're asking you to fill out that form.
Yes.
To give us your URL, because there are a lot of links that we are not at all seeing.
Yeah, we know that. We know that from doing this. And we always feel bad at the end where we're like, man, we didn't get to anything. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Hooray. Okay.
Kick us out.
Seek to harness the power within yourself. Okay. What are we selling here? Okay, so the first thing is you shouldn't have me asking, what are we selling here? Right, Kelly?
That's right. It can be immediately obvious when you land on a website.
So, I like the copy right here, but I don't know what this brand is. So that's really important. So we're going to shop now. These are collections. Okay, so this is kind of an about. Let's go to products.
Yeah.
Workout room.
Perfect. Things I should be doing.
I was going to say things I should be doing as well. Good idea. Okay.
My exercise bike arrives tomorrow. Please hold me to using it.
I will try. Okay, so this is a yoga set, back to basics yoga set. This looks like a stock image, but I don't know if it is. And this product description isn't going to sell you in a land full of yoga.
It's a crowded space.
It's a crowded space. This really needs to stand out. Why am I choosing your yoga product over another product, right? Like why you? Why am I spending the money on you and not Gymshark or you and not Lululemon or et cetera? There's like a lot of brands. So that's my first feedback on this page. Kelly, what are your thoughts?
So one thing that I really like about it is that buy now button, buy with Shop Pay.
Yes.
So this is called accelerated checkout. You click this button, it takes you right to checkout. Really great. Also below that, secure and trusted checkout with so-and-so, and also shipping calculated at checkout. At least the secure and trusted checkout, this is a trust builder. This is going to help people, convince people to add the item to the cart. So
and again, like I said, the T of EAT for Google is trustworthiness. So that matters. But I would say in relationship to EAT and the trustworthy factor, you want some reviews on here.
Yes.
Especially because you're in a congested market. So that's just a high level overview.
Let's pull up another.
Okay. I got one.
Cool.
Perfect. Okay. Let me share that. And I will tell you, I'm not sure if it's going to capture, but I just had that pop-up came up really fast.
You're not sharing your screen.
I'm about
there
to.
You go. Okay.
So that pop-up was like in my face in sub 1 second. Okay. We need some breathing room around it.
Yeah. First thing I noticed, I like that get free shipping on all orders. Quick trust builder. I know I'm going to be getting free shipping. It's all the way at the top.
Yes. I like that. Roasted for visionaries. I also like that. One thing I would be cognizant of is see how these two overlap.
I cannot decline. Can you? Oh no! If you scroll down, I think that stays there. Yeah, I can't decline cookies. I have to accept. There are definitely some GDPR. Is it CCPA?
I think CCPA.
Yeah, there's some
California protection. I'm just making up words. Yes, I think that's correct. I do think that's correct. Okay, so let's scroll down. Welcome to Common Sense Coffee. I like that you have the description of what you are right here. That's great.
Text on your homepage is a really, really good idea. It's great for SEO because you're adding content to the page. And it also tells me, who are you? Why should I buy from you?
So one thing I just noticed, so I was down here and that just pulled me up when it changed the image.
Oh, that's odd.
So Kelly actually has some feedback about scrolling images. Kelly, do you want to share that feedback?
Yes. I do not like using slideshows.
She loves to talk about this.
For many reasons. First of all, most people do not look at the second and third and whatever number slide that you have on there. They look at the first one, they scroll down. Second, this is an automatically scrolling slideshow. So you're like, oh, well, they actually will see it. However, it is very distracting and it pulled Rhian's attention away from what she was reading because, well, in this case, it slid back up on the page. In other cases, that just your eyes are just drawn to movement. And so if I'm in the middle of reading a description and it automatically changes, I'm now distracted and looking at something else. One hero image or a video without sound is another fun idea, creative idea that you can use for this section. I do not like using slideshows and I never recommend them to anybody.
Okay, so I'm going to click shop merchandise because it's right there.
Cool.
Okay, so our merchandise collection, everything you want. Okay, I like that we have some
collection description that's usually missed.
Yeah,
so,
that is usually missed.
Bravo.
So bravo there, but I will say it doesn't tell me enough about the merch. Why am I buying this merch and not someone else's merch? Just expand upon it a little bit. This is a really great launching point, but I think you can make it even further. Okay, that's a lot of things that just popped up at one time. I don't know if you saw that, Kelly.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know what this is, but I
can't see it behind our faces on the shared screen.
Okay.
Can you read what it says?
It says sign up for Common Sense Coffee usage-based subscription.
Okay. So interesting. I would think that would be like a subscription using Recharge, but that's or Bold or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just because I know subscriptions. That copy doesn't make sense to anybody.
Yeah, I would take that out. Okay, so here we go. A Common Sense original piece with style on the front and back. You can rep your favorite coffee brand anywhere. Okay, but again, this is, I think, I know that the people on your page are probably already know what Common Sense Coffee is, but I'm a coffee drinker and I don't. So maybe this is another place where you can educate me, right?
And also another opportunity to link back to the coffee.
Great. Absolutely. Link back to the coffee in here. And you can even say, best, because you have best of all you can wear as a sleep shirt. And then you can even say, and when you wake up, you can drink a blank coffee, right? Link out with this mug. So that's two opportunities for internal links. And by the way, internal links, which we haven't talked about at all today, do help with SEO.
All right, keep scrolling down.
Okay.
Couple things to note. Anybody who's selling apparel, selling food, note down the materials that are used, the ingredients that are used, how to care for something. If the case, like, how do I wash this? Machine wash cold or whatever. If you're selling apparel, include a size chart as well.
Yes, absolutely. And also, you could even use on this page, you could talk about brewing methods and things like that. And then all of a sudden you have other types of people getting to your page who want to learn more about coffee. So that's a great way to bring that all together and to get more traffic to your page. Okay. So oopsie, I thought I'd stop sharing. All right. Next one. Okay. Oops. Oh my gosh. I just tried to copy and paste and I failed.
I believe in you.
Dramatically. I'm not sure you should. Okay, pink a dot is the next one that we're doing. So okay, pink a dot.
Cool.
Candles. Oh, not candles.
Clothing and candles.
And
home
candles.
goods.
Okay. Home goods. So again, this is an instance of, I think it's really, yeah.
Slideshow is so fast.
It's so fast. I'm going to scroll off of it actually. I do like that you have free shipping on purchases of $50 or more and you've called it out. So we're going to look at clothes.
Ooh, something to note here that's really good for your page speed. Scroll down a little bit more. Of course, there are no more images to show. Okay, see how these images are loading here? This is called lazy loading. This means that images only load as you actually reach them on the page. This is really, really, really great for decreasing your load time on your website.
Yeah, it's actually critical to decreasing the load time on your website. Okay, so Michael Stars, so that's the brand. Della dress. So get a fresh seasonal update with the relaxed and flowy spaghetti tie dress with peplum. There's only one option here of color, right?
Yeah.
So that's when you're going to want to put the color up here and also describe it. Ocean is not a color that I'm going to search for. I might search for light blue or something of that nature, but ocean as a color is that's more of a branded color as opposed to a searchable color.
Another thing to note, move your product description below the add to cart form because your customer should not have to scroll down to reach the form.
So move this up here.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We'll jump on to someone else's right now.
For those of you who are asking about setting up lazy loading, it is a bit of a complex development task. Another opportunity to use something like StoreTasker or Hey Carson. There might be an app that does it. I wouldn't really trust it if it does.
I wouldn't trust an app to do lazy loading. Don't do that.
There are also apps, if you're using like a product filter and search app, for example, it's often built in as a feature to those apps as well. But it's good to have universal lazy loading on your website, not just on your collection page.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm trying to grab one right now. Okay, I got one. Okay, so this is rainbow.com, and I am going to share it right now. And obviously this isn't a full teardown because we want to give more than one person an opportunity to be torn down. This is one of those funny things about this industry. We're like, yes, tear me apart, please. I need to know more. But obviously we can't do a full teardown because we want to get to more than one person. Okay. So
for the record, my full teardowns usually take approximately 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's something that even orally, if you do a fast one, is like 30 minutes to an hour. So this is like touching the surface of just quick fixes that you can make. So this pop-up came up pretty fast.
It's cute.
It's cute. And I also look at the cursor.
Oh, that's fun.
That's fun. Wait a little bit longer for that to pop up. But I like that it's easy. Okay, so I know you're selling mushrooms.
Yep.
That's
immediately evident. That's great.
That's great. And there's a reason they're called marriage. Marriage.
Good try.
Good. There's three of the same letters, y'all. Okay.
Look at that. Introductory text telling you who the brand is. I love it.
And it's crawlable. So there's a kind of a want sometimes to make this an image, right? But look, if it's not an image, it's crawlable. If it is an image, make sure you have alt text that says exactly what it says on the image.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're selling, and I love that about this site. How do you want to feel? What is it? Bestsellers. Okay, so let's click into this.
Nice, fast site.
Yeah, this is fast. This is definitely performant. A blend of 11 powerful. Okay, I mean, I
like that.
I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing here. Should
and
I look over here?
Those are the additional sections I was talking about, and including clinical studies, things that are important for this type of product. So that is very smart.
And then I like that you have a social
sustainability.
A sustainability. Yeah, Kelly and I talk about that at length in our most recent podcast episode. I'm going to just look at alt text real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, if I can type. Okay. Let's see.
No, we can't see what you're doing, just so you know.
Oh, you can't see what I'm doing?
We can't see your alt
Okay,
text.
never mind. I'm not going to do it because I want you to all see. Can you still see the regular screen?
You just closed it out. So
now
we
I'm
see
a pro.
our faces.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going back. We're going back. Okay. Are we back?
We're back.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to click it on the blog actually because we've talked about blog, but this is the first one I've seen a blog right out the gates. And look at this. I'm actually really amped up on this. The mushroom life cycle. This is a piece, an educational component, and it could be a little bit longer if I'm being picky.
Aim for at least 500 words.
Yes.
1,000 words for a longer form. 1,500 to 2,000 if you're really going long form.
If you're going for it. But overall, I will say you're the first person that has that additional content. You also have recipes. Really smart.
Okay, click on one of these recipes. I'm curious. I want to see if it has something.
So interesting fact about that Json Ld I was talking about earlier when it comes to recipes is it will actually pull recipe information out now.
It does. It's so smart.
It does. That's about 5 months old, I think. January. That many, 7 months. 7 months old.
So for those of you who are asking about the product description sections and how it was divided up into those little sections like that, in the developer speak, we call that an accordion. There are apps in the App Store that will do that for you. It's also natively supported by some themes as well. So look into their theme documentation and see if they have a feature for that.
So perfect. I love that one. Okay.
One thing I was going to look at on the recipe page.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's totally fine. You don't have to bring it back up. Is if you're linking to your products. So try to incorporate links back to your products in all of your blog posts if you can.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. Right. Anytime to have those internal links, awesome. Anytime you're linking back to a product to make sure, because what if they landed on you from recipes? You want them to be able to buy those recipes and to activate from there and to, you want people to buy your stuff, right? That's why you're selling on Shopify.
Cool.
That's why, I I get it. Okay, so next I'm going to look at something called Wavy LA or Wavy Law. Okay, what are they selling?
Socks.
Yes, I think. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh, and a sustainability mission centered right here, a campaign that saves the planet.
Love it.
Love that.
Save
So
both money and planets. Oh, I love it.
okay, and you've got your fixed, that static hero image, which Kelly's a fan of. And so am I too. I just feel like I blamed that thought on her. Like, which Kelly likes.
On me. No, it's fine.
So
you notice how when that page loaded, everything was like a little pixelated and then it was clear. Lazy loading. That's lazy loading in action as well.
Okay, so should we look at avocados? Because
of course.
I love avocados. Okay, that's really funny. You can't make everyone happy. You are not an avocado. Props. Here's the challenge. I think this description you're using on other. Yeah, let me look on another one. So if I am correct, make sure that description is different on each of the pages. I know it is hard to write those descriptions over and over, but I promise you can do it. You get real creative with synonyms. You pull up a thesaurus. And I'm not being sarcastic, by the way, at all. I actually mean that. Sometimes the thesaurus, when you're writing copy, is your best friend because you're like, how do I say this word without saying that exact same word?
We all did it in school anyway.
We all did it in school. So
I think it's important to note, though, you see like details like the machine wash form on gentle cycle and also the what the socks are made of. That's okay to repeat. Because that's literally what the socks are made of and how to care for them. It's the longer form text that needs to vary from page to page.
And Google is smart enough to know the difference.
Yeah.
Which is important to note. What Google back in the day was not smart enough to know the difference. Google 2020 in July knows the difference. So I'm just going to click on another one. Okay, yeah, that's the same copy. So you definitely want to, I know you can write some good copy because that thing about avocados was really funny. Yeah. So just take that creativity, which I know you have, and bring it forward.
I want to do one thing before we move on from this.
Yes.
Add this to the cart and then go to checkout.
Uh-oh.
Oh, go back.
Go back. Everyone's like, we know where Rhian lives.
I was hoping it would be the checkout as guest. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so
I love Shopify Pay or Shop Pay.
I'm just going to tell you what you need to include. On every Shopify theme, you can add your logo, you can change the colors of the buttons on checkout, and you can also change the fonts that are used on the heading and the body text. Note that you can choose whatever color you want. You cannot choose whatever fonts you want. You can only choose from what's available. Please add your logo and update the color of the button to match the color that you're using across your whole website. That brand cohesion is much more trustworthy when you're on checkout, and that's when it's most important to actually get people to put in their credit card information.
Perfect. I love that. I do love Shopify or Shop Pay. I keep calling it Shopify Pay. I'm sorry. It was called Shopify Pay up until fairly recently. So I just, yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to pull. How many more should we do, Kelly? 2?
Let's do 2. Okay.
Okay. We're going to do 2. Okay. I'm going to try to grab one. Okay.
It's a game.
It's a game. Okay, got one. It's called Everzoa, I think is how it's pronounced. All right. So this looks like a longevity product. It's called Zoa Immortal Health.
You're not sharing.
Am I not?
Nope.
Oh, excellent news. Okay. I'm going to send this to you. Kelly's going to share.
I'm going to share. Okay. Chrome tab, Everzoa. There we go. You okay? Okay. So we are going to go ahead and start reviewing this. Oh, Rhian is having a cough attack. Got it. Okay. All right. So I like this description here. It's a good introductory text. I don't exactly know what it is you're selling yet, but thankfully you have that information right here. I think this would be a really great opportunity to add some introductory text right here to explain a little bit further in more detail what your brand is. Whenever you start selling any kind of health-based product, the more descriptive you can be about why you're trustworthy, why people should trust buying from you, the better off you're going to be. So this is a really cute stock photo, I think, unless you happen to take some pictures of polar bears, then by all means. Okay, I'm going to purchase this. Okay, so this product description is very short. Please add some more information. Again, I am buying a product that's going to impact my health. Please be descriptive. But there is a review section on here. Please, everybody, include a review section on your website. It is a very good thing to have.
Critical.
Okay, I'm not going to try adding to the cart because it's whatever. Okay.
Because Kelly and I spend too much money on the internet. That's
The sad thing is one of my most recent purchases was actually buying a gift for Rhian. So I would hit checkout and you'd see Rhian's address again.
It was just my birthday. Okay. I'm going to try to grab one. Oh, no. I can do it. I believe in myself.
All right, and this is the last one.
This is the last one. Okay.
Are you sending it to me or are you pulling up?
I don't think I wanted to check it before I sent it to you to make sure I got it right because it's going so fast, but I don't think I wrote it down correctly.
I will work on pulling one. I got one.
Okay.
Open. Yeah.
It feels like that carnival game, you know, when you were little and you're like,
okay, here we go. This is called Welcome. I love your imagery. Again, not a fan of slideshows, but the photos are pretty. So, Rhian, what are we selling?
I can't see it.
Oh, no. We're doing this again, aren't we?
We're having a case of the whoopsies.
The whoopsies. Oh, it was finally loading.
Okay.
I need to reopen it now.
Okay.
Sure. It was just taking its sweet time.
Thanks, y'all, for your patience with our technical difficulties. But you know what? I say little technical difficulties never hurt anyone in our industry. So
I can't even see our faces anymore. Like I don't know what happened.
Oh,
Loading.
Oh, Kelly is gone. Okay, I think she's coming back, so that's good. So I'm going to pull it up. Should we? I think we'll just blame Webinar Jam instead of one of us. Okay, let me try to grab one of these.
And I am back.
Oh, you're back. Okay, I got a store.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to share. And we're gonna see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Thanks y'all for being along for the ride here. And like we said before, Rob will pin the Commerce T teardowns for you. So if we don't get to you today, please fill out that form and we will do our best to make that happen for you. Okay. Can we see?
Yes.
Hooray. Okay. So that pop-up came up really fast, but we all knew I was going to say that. So I'm not going to say this.
I'm a big fan of Privy. Great app, great service.
I love Privy. I was talking to them the other day.
Okay. There is no copy on here.
Nope. I know you're a fashion company just by visuals, but it's not screaming fashion. And I think you could have some kind of copy right here that defines what your brand is, whether it's your mission, your vision, your ethos, whatever it is, right? You can put something there so I know what it is, also so Google knows what you're selling. let's look at that dress. So you're selling an upmarket product, right? $220 is not inexpensive for a dress. So this is that instance of when you're writing the copy, this really needs to sell me as if I'm being sold in real life.
Yes. I'm also going to add an additional suggestion here. If you have ever heard of services like Affirm or Sezzle, for high price point products like this, those kinds of services will split the payments into, let's say Sezzle does like 4 equal payments, for example. Other services like Affirm is more of like, get it as credit and then just pay it back. There is a slightly different transaction fee that you'll pay as the merchant, but that kind of option gives your customers more trust in being like, well, I don't have $220 to spend right now, but I will have, $60 a month over the next 6 months. That is not good math. 4 months. There we go. That's 240, close enough. And then I can actually afford the product in that case. So if you have high price point products, even if your products are like $60 and up, I would say really great opportunity to use a buy now, pay later option.
Absolutely. So I would just make this more robust, and everything Kelly said about Sezzle and Afterpay, and there's a whole lot. And I believe Shopify is actually shipping one natively.
They are. That was another announcement from Reunite. They are adding their own payment methods. So yes, but for now, if you want to use another one that exists, Sezzle, Affirm, Afterpay, what's the one? Klarna, and there are probably
QuadPay. We're just going to start naming them. I think that's all the ones we can name, though. So, y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. You can reach out for a teardown on commercet.com/teardown. If you want to get a hold of us, you can also use the contact us form on Commerce T as well. And then we will also include, or Hans will include in the roundup email, a recap of what we talked about today.
And also, please join the Shopify Growth Lab Facebook page.
Yes.
That link is going to be shared as well. You'll also find us there if you have additional questions, or especially on SEO, because there was only so much that we could cover in this hour and a half. But
there's so much, which I know can be so overwhelming, but y'all got it. And go submit your Sitemap today.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Stay well. And we'll see you again next month. Bye-bye.